this video, I'm going to be looking at 5 things I wish every non-Christian knew about my faith in Jesus. So let's do it. Number 1, I do not consider myself religious. Listen, so often I encounter people that basically think faith and religion are essentially the same thing. But what I really want you to know is that they are so different. I don't consider myself to be a religious person at all. Because religion is all about following rules and rituals and traditions, most of which are man-made. But that's not what I'm about as a follower of Jesus. For me, it's all about relationship. It's all about knowing God and being known by God. Number 2, I don't think I'm better than you. And I don't think I'm better than anyone else. Over the years, I feel like Christians have just gained this reputation as being these kind of pompous and condescending, looking down their nose at other people types who just look down on others and think that they're the best, most moral people in society. And I accept there have been times where the church hasn't helped itself in terms of making some of those old stereotypes come to life. But listen, true Christianity shouldn't look anything like that. See, following Jesus isn't about being the moral cream of the crop. It's not about being the best behaved person or about pretending you're morally superior compared with others. Far from it. It's actually totally the other way around. By putting our faith in Jesus, we're not saying, God, I'm a perfect person who deserves to know you. Instead, it's about saying, God, I'm a sinner over here and I need some help. I'm an imperfect person right here, and apart from your forgiveness, apart from your grace, I could never deserve to know you. 3, church ain't perfect. Look, sometimes we get stuff wrong, and there's a bunch of different reasons why this sort of stuff happens. Sometimes it happens because people claim to be Christians and actually they're not. Sometimes it happens because despite Christians having good intentions, they interpret biblical ideas poorly. And it also happens because at the end of the day, we're flawed people who screw up and make mistakes. And listen, I'm not trying to belittle or say that it doesn't matter when the church screws up, because it's a big deal. It matters a lot, especially when people get hurt. However, regardless of the reasons these sorts of things happen, I personally think the church needs to own that stuff and apologise for it. I think we need to call it what it is and say that that is clearly not worthy of the God that we follow. But what I want you to hear, what I really want you to hear is this: please don't use the failures of the church or the failures of individual Christians as an excuse to walk away from God. Like I just said in point 2, church is not a place full of perfect people. When we properly understand Christianity, we come to understand it's a place full of imperfect people. And again, I don't want to belittle the mistakes of the church, but the reality is if you put a bunch of imperfect people in a space together, sometimes there'll be some challenging days and some things that go wrong. However, I think a helpful analogy might be this one. See, I love football. Absolutely love the game. I grew up with it, playing it, watching it, video games. Sabutio, if you're old, you'll get that reference. But everything football I could get my hands on when I was a kid, I loved. Yet, there's some stuff I don't love about football. I hate how much money is involved in the game now. That money seems to speak volumes in a game that really shouldn't be about money at all. In fact, it should be about the fans. But here's the point. I'm not going to let the fact that there are some elements that I hate about football drive me away from something that's important to me, the game itself. And I would urge you to view church in a similar way. If God is something that's important to you, then don't abandon church just because it ain't perfect. Stay around and fight for it. The church is important to Jesus after all. Stay around and be part of it. Part of making it better for yourself and for others. 4, Christianity is not about good works. This one is massive, and I come across this misconception all the time. I think there's a ton of people out there who feel like Christianity and church is just about obeying a list of rules and doing good deeds. But as Christians, we believe rule following and good works, no matter how good those works might be, these things don't make you right with God. We believe that putting our faith in Jesus and receiving His grace to cover our wrongs, that's what makes us right with God. And maybe in your life you've heard Christians say Jesus is the only way to God. And I understand that might have caused you to back off a little bit, and perhaps you thought to yourself that it seemed a bit narrow-minded or exclusive. I get that. But listen, the reason we Christians say that is not because the name of Jesus is some magic password to get God to like us. The reason Christians say Jesus is the only way to God is because Jesus' death on the cross is what pays for the sins of those who believe. So literally, without Jesus dying on the cross, there is no payment for sin. That's what the word atonement means. And so if there's no payment for sin, or if there's no atonement, then there's no forgiveness or redemption for anyone. There's no forgiveness or redemption on offer. So we're not saying believe in Jesus because He's magic. We're saying believe in Jesus and what He's done for you on the cross, because outside of Jesus and the cross, there is no forgiveness for sin. For me, for you, or for anybody else. Point 5. We're all in the same boat. Listen, if you've ever experienced a Christian talking down to you about their faith, or talking to you in a condescending way, chances are it's because they've got some wrong thinking going on. So let me put the record straight. When we Christians share our faith properly, we shouldn't be coming to you from a place of superiority, looking down on others, saying that we have something they don't. If we understand what's going on properly, then we should realize it's more like one beggar approaching another beggar and saying, hey, there's a guy down the street giving away bread and water. Do you want to come and meet him? See, when I share my faith with you, it's not me saying I have something you don't have. This is me saying I know someone who has something we both desperately need. The bottom line here is that none of us are perfect. None of us are sinless. We're all a work in progress. And the point I'm making here is that we're all in the same position spiritually. None of us have a right to speak down to anybody else, because we all need this thing called grace. And maybe for some of you watching this, you might say, Pete, I've heard of the word grace before, but what does it mean in this context? Well, grace, in the Christian use of the word, means undeserved favour of God. And it's found through faith in Jesus Christ. Not in religion, not in good deeds, not in trying hard to be a good person. Grace, the forgiveness and favour and love of God, are all expressed and found only in the person of Jesus Christ. See, it's all about Him. And so if you want to start exploring this faith thing for yourself, a good question to start with is this one. What do you think about Jesus?